Looking back at the first two videos that I've covered in this series, I wanted to do something a bit different today. Rather than doing a different battle, which I eventually do, instead I want to bring two characters from previous fights. While Gomess was the first victor in this series, however for Kong, he unfortunately met his fate at the hands of Avarice. But then I thought to myself, what if I brought these two back and put them against each other? And that's what I'm gonna do today. Hello everyone, I'm your host with the most, Ghostzilla, and in today's battle we're going to be bringing back two contenders from the first two previous fights. Our first contender is Showa Kong, as he has been given a second chance after his unfortunate demise from Avarice. Meanwhile, Gomess was the first winner of this series, as he beat Jiris with high difficulty. Before we get into it, there's a few things I want to mention. First is that this video will act more as a revamp for both Kong and Gomess. Second is that both Gomess and Kong are composite versions of themselves, meaning that Kong will maintain the height and weight of 1962 and will have the abilities and feats from both films, and Gomess will still maintain the height and weight of the S-Class version as well as abilities. Finally, we'll be going over both their powered forms after going over their regular stats. Thus is going to be a long one, so grab a snack and let's get into it. Our first category is strength. First let's look at Kong. Now Kong has great deals of strength, but just how strong is he? His first decent feat of strength was when he threw the 600 metric ton giant octopus off of him. However, he has much more than that, such as fighting in par with Godzilla. Now I want to bring up something interesting just to give you a better idea of how strong Kong really is. Not only was Kong in par with a second generation Godzilla, but this Godzilla, according to some statements in some super complete works, that he is a much stronger, faster, and agile version than the original. The fact that Kong is equal to the second generation Godzilla, who is twice as strong as the original, is impressive, to be honest with you. Then he has other feats from King Kong Escapes, such as breaking Gorosaurus's jaw, and wrestling with the 40,000 metric ton giant serpent, and shaking a submarine. Now it's not stated how much the submarine weighs in the film, but the closest and accurate weight that I could find was the Ohio-class submarine, weighing in at 18,750 tons when in water. But of course, submarines' weight can vary in shapes and sizes, so Kong can just casually shake a submarine. I know that doesn't seem much, but believe me, this is a good feat. But his greatest feat of strength, in my opinion, was when he destroyed Doctor Who's huge ship. Next is Gomess. Now when it comes to strength, he is no pushover. There are a few times where his strength overwhelmed his opponents. Three examples of this is when he tossed Magular by the tail, lifting 25,000 metric tons, and threw the 20,000 metric ton Gamora, similar to Showa Godzilla. But his best one was when he tail swiped Ultraman X while wearing the Bemstar armor, as he slides across, pushing 45,000 metric tons. Unfortunately, there's no official weight for the armor itself, but we can assume that it increases more of the weight. So who wins over strength? I want to say both are pretty close, but when it comes to strength, I would give the win to Gomess, as once again, he is no pushover. Remember guys, this is just both kaijus in their base form. Up next is speed. Again, let's look at Kong. Now, how fast is Kong exactly? Well, from what I've seen, his greatest feat of speed was when he outran a car. Now, I couldn't find what type of car model was used in the movie, but thankfully, I found that cars in the 60s can travel between 60 to even 130 miles per hour. And meanwhile, Kong can just casually outrun a car that can travel between 60 to 130 miles per hour in the 60s. But for Gomess, his speed isn't really stated in any of the shows. Even his Wikipedia page states that he can travel to moderate speeds, so with no doubt, the winner for speed is Kong. Then we have general intelligence and battle intelligence. This time we'll start with Gomess. Now in my first video, I stated that Gomess acts on animalistic behavior, and well, yeah, that still hasn't changed. For most of his battles, he acts on an animalistic behavior, and doesn't show much. I mean, sure, there was a time where Gomess escaped before Ultraman could use his Excendium beam, but that's because he couldn't do much more but escape, especially when he took heavy damage from the Bemstar shield. He's not stupid, but for the most part, he's not the brightest. So honestly, there's no doubt saying this, but Kong is much smarter. Given that he's a primate, he's capable of using the environment as resources and potential weapons, even planning out attacks and figuring out weaknesses. Easily, Kong takes the win for intelligence. Coming up next is agility. Looking at both of their respective agility, Kong is more agile than Gomess. While Gomess was once on par with Gamora in agility, throughout the rest of the series, he got a bit more slower than his Mega Monster counterpart. Honestly, with no argument, Kong wins agility. Next is durability. Now let's take a look at Kong once again. Now this is the part where I wanted to fix the mistake I made in Kong vs. Aberus. I'd only mentioned Kong taking a few blasts from Godzilla, but he also bit down on a transmission tower, which later on he took a strike from a lightning bolt, not only surviving the strike, but also reviving him into his electric form. Hell, he was even resistant to the highly radioactive element X, unlike Mechanic Kong. For Gomess' durability, well, looking back, it was kind of all over the place, but for the most part, he can take assaults from attacks. However, once again, his durability is a mess. Sometimes he can take heavy damage, and other times he just gets one-shotted. But that doesn't mean he's completely weak. For the most part, he can take damage. Honestly, Kong would take the win for durability, and even without the boost of electricity, he was able to have taken many blasts from Godzilla's beam. Many times. The last two we have are abilities and physical weapons, but first is abilities. Starting with Kong. Now I know both don't have a lot of abilities, but I'm gonna list them anyways. Kong has strength, intelligence, communication, durability, and radiation resistance. And for Gomess, all he has is burrowing, fangs, tail, and sharp teeth and claws. Easily, Gomess takes the win for abilities. Finally is physical weapons. This time, taking a look at Gomess once again. Again, he has sharp teeth, claws, fang-like tusks, a horn, and a large tail, as well as beefy legs. Meanwhile, Kong doesn't have a lot of physical weapons, besides fists, feet, sharp teeth, and that's just about it. Once again, Gomess takes another win for physical weapons. So who would win the first round? Looking at both of their data, it's safe to say that Kong wins with speed, IQ, and battle IQ, agility, and durability, while Gomess takes strength, abilities, and physical weapons. Don't get me wrong, Gomess is a formidable opponent with his strength and physical weapons, but thanks to Kong's knowledge and experience, he would be able to possibly outmatch Gomess, given that he's similar to Godzilla, coincidentally. Kong's able to learn from his mistakes when he fought Godzilla, but luckily, he's fortunate as Gomess doesn't have a beam. Kong defeats Gomess with extreme difficulty in the first round, but now they've entered the second round, where things are about to get crazy. Both kaijus have entered their powered forms, starting off with Kong's electric form. Now let's assume before the fight, Kong bit down on a transmission tower. First, his strength is increased. Thanks to the strike, Kong's strength has increased a lot. A great example of this is when he threw Godzilla by the tail, lifting 20,000 metric tons, and even throwing him over his shoulder. And when he pinned Godzilla to the ground, he constantly pummeled him with electric punches. Then he has his electric touch. Kong is able to release charges of electricity when grabbing onto an opponent. Finally, Kong's electric punches. Once again, just like his electric touch, he can release charges of electricity when throwing a punch. Then we have Gomess in his dark energy form. Gomess' strength is also boosted, to where it nearly overwhelms Cyber Gamora and Ultraman X, and even tossing Cyber Gamora, weighing similar to his organic counterpart, which is 20,000 metric tons. Next is his destructive beam. This beam is pretty destructive, just like the name implies. The beam is capable of launching a powerful blow that causes explosions and creating extreme damage. Finally, he has his dark energy outburst. Similar to a nuclear pulse, it creates a shockwave, knocking opponents off their feet. Finally, we are at the second final round. And who wins? To be completely honest with you, this round was very close. At first, I couldn't even decide who would win, but I'm very confident enough to say that without a doubt, the winner is Showa Kong. Now before you guys go in the comments and say otherwise, let me explain why I think of this. First of all, Gomess is going to be very difficult with the dark energy, and would be like Godzilla, ironically enough. Also thanks to the boosted energy and power. But thanks to Kong's knowledge, and given that he's a composite version, he would use his techniques when he fought Godzilla, given that he's also fought 5 other kaiju. I will confidently say that with his agility and intelligence, as well as his electric boost, there's a possibility that he can defeat Gomess, but he will take extreme damage. Now Gomess by any means isn't stupid, but nor is he the brightest. I hope you enjoyed this interesting confrontation, and let me know what your opinion is in the comments below. Was this the outcome you expected, or was it something else? Well, whatever you do, please be nice about it. This is your host with the most, signing off, and have a great day.